Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I have a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
In today's episode 174 of Podcast 2 for 1, youtube.com/2for1 studios, the best place to consume all the content. And listeners, if you didn't know, and let's be honest, you probably did not, we are sponsored by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East Kill Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. Though they have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year.
Kapow.
I forgot the name of the street they were located on.
Yeah, it's literally the street I turn off of my street. Yeah.
Daniel, it's episode 174, and we're talking episode 3 of Ahsoka, the Disney Plus show created by showrunner Dave Filoni, our Lord and Savior of Star Wars, hopefully. And, I've seen a few reviews that are like a little middling, but I feel like most of this so far, particularly this episode, it's like 95% of people are really digging this and are saying things like, this is George Lucas's Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah, I would say someone said I saw that it's a love letter to the hardcore fans. And I would say that's absolutely true. And just to give my quick thoughts, I thought, it's not a lot happens in this episode. It is short. And I still feel like just this show has a little bit of a pacing issue where we just hang on shots just like 2 or 3 seconds too long, or like, it's just like we zoom in really slow for just a look, you know what I mean? And there's things like that where I'm just like, that's just me as a storyteller wishing it would just go a little bit faster, like 10% faster, not that much. But everything they're doing, the chemistry they're building with the characters, the action sequences have been so fun. I mean, this one had some really fun action sequences, some like really fun like dogfighting in space that I feel like reminded me a bit of like old Star Wars 2. I loved the little they look like World War II airplanes, ships that the bad guys were flying in kind of that chase sequence. Those were really fun, just designed really well. The acting has been, it's not perfect, but everyone is taking it very seriously. Everything is being taken like we want it to feel. Like it feels like they are living in a world and these are characters in a world. The cinematography has been gorgeous. I read that apparently he storyboarded the entire show himself, which makes a lot of sense why it looks so good. And it just looks so intentional. It doesn't look like we're just, I mean, like, honestly, you watch Obi-Wan, and if you told me they didn't storyboard that, I would believe you. You know what I mean? Just kind of the genericism of the shots, the genericism of just the setups and the lighting and all that. This does not feel that way. And there was some really good humor in this. Hyung Hang, I don't remember what his name was. It starts with an H and there's an Ang in there. The robot was hilarious. I kept audibly cracking up at things he was doing. And so I feel like the dynamic between Sabine and Ahsoka grew on me a lot in this episode. I feel like they are continuing to. I'm really excited to see where this goes, this relationship. And in general, I'm just excited to see what happens next. I'm just excited to see where they use the ship jumper thing to go to and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, a couple things. I agree on the pacing. I think the first 10 minutes or so, I was kind of like, oh no, is this going to be like a filler episode?
Yeah.
Is things not really going to be happening that kind of pushes the main plot forward? I think I'm somewhat getting a little tired of, here's apprentice and a master, and I'm going to have them fight some droid or fight some practice thing, and I'm going to teach them a lesson about the Force, because I feel like we've gotten that quite a bit in other ways. That being said, I agree with you. I think their relationship is stronger this episode than they were, and this is the first time it feels like they've been with aligned goals, right? They're going to a destination with aligned ideas, so it kind of makes sense in that way. I do want to get into, after a few more thoughts here, I want to get into what I hope is the majority of this podcast, which is some theory stuff. But real quick, I think we're at episode 3. There's 8 to go. This feels good in the fact that we are telling a continuous story, right? It's not creature of the week like Mando does. I just wish it had some of the pacing that Mando has in some of its places. I almost think the perfect Star Wars show is a cross between Mandalorian and Ahsoka.
Maybe
I do love season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian, but I just feel like Ahsoka isn't all the way there yet. But that being said, Ahsoka is giving me the thing that I almost treasure more than watching Star Wars and this talking about Star Wars. Because the thing, love or hate the sequel trilogy, when those come out, specifically Force Awakens and obviously Last Jedi, but Force Awakens, it has a mystery box. JJ's good at that, and so there's lots of questions and lots of answers answered and asked in that movie, and it gave us a lot to talk about. So I have found myself in the last week watching lots of theory videos and watching lots of explaining lore and all these things that I'm like, oh yeah, this is the fun part of Star Wars, is trying to figure this universe out. And then also having a hope that they deliver fun and exciting things. I think seeing the Purgle, like having the ship battle around the Purgle, was awesome. And just it made the universe. I felt like seeing the Purgle, a little bit in season 3 of Mando, that one shot, which that was teasing Ahsoka, because we knew that they were going to be in Ahsoka. I feel like having them in a scale and like us in Ahsoka and them interacting with them in that way, it felt like that single moment felt to me the first time Star Wars has grown in the last probably decade. I mean, and that stuff existed in the Clone Wars, and that stuff existed in things like Rebels and Bad Batch, but this is live action. So I always feel like live action carries a little more gravitas with me than the cartoon stuff. And I feel like all the sequel trilogy stuff was remixed things that we've already seen. Even Mandalorian, and they're all that for the most part too. I mean, there's obviously different stuff, but even Baby Yoda, I love him to death. He's just a small, cute version of Yoda. Seeing the Purgle is like, oh, there's more to this universe than Jedi, and but like it doesn't just negate the Jedi or the Sith or these other people. It starts giving us backstory, and it's just fleshing this universe out in ways that I'm like, oh, okay. Filoni, it saddens me a little bit to see that the numbers are not as strong as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it makes sense because Obi-Wan Kenobi is a huge character,
right. And Ian McGregor, an Oscar winning actor, that alone is going to get more people to watch.
100%. So I just hope that Disney doesn't just look at the numbers here and looks at the fan reaction, being like, okay, let Dave do his thing.
Well, and I think this show is one that will have longer legs than the other ones. I think this is one people will come back to, and people that don't get there at release will eventually get the hype and want to go to. And I would say, to me, a big difference between this and between most of the other Star Wars shows we've gotten from Disney, and even the movies, is I always felt that those shows and movies were all pretty technically, even like a technical writing perspective of kind of moving the plot along and all these kinds of things. They were technically pretty tight, pretty well polished, but the fundamentals were missing. The fundamentals of what made people fall in love with Star Wars, with what made people fall in love with characters in general. I would say especially like season 3 Mando, but especially Obi-Wan, especially Boba Fett. It's just like it didn't have the magic that made you want to imagine yourself in the Star Wars world. Because for one, a lot of the times those worlds didn't feel real, mostly because of the acting, the writing, and the direction of that. But with Ahsoka and with Dave, what I feel like is it's not perfectly polished. There's a little bit of pacing issues, right? There's sometimes the acting is a little
I'm not 100% on board on that
awkward,
yet.
Right? Sometimes it's even with what's her name? I can't think of the Twilight General Hut. Hux. No, that's not it.
Yeah, no, it's not
No,
Hux. It's
yeah, no, it's not
Hux.
it. General Twilight Girl from Rebels. Like some of her lines came off a little Disney Channel-y,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, that's fun fact for you, everyone. That's Obi-Wan. It's Ian McGregor's wife in real
Oh,
life.
that's awesome. No,
That's
and in
Elizabeth Mary
general,
Winstead.
I
Yeah,
do
she's a
like
big
her.
actress.
I
Yeah,
don't think
a good
she's doing
actress.
she's not blowing it. And in fact, I loved the interaction she had with that senator, asking about what he was doing during the war. I thought that was a nice moment.
I like that. I am tired of we're just getting hammered in the head with with like this idea, like the Empire still whatever, and it does make them look really stupid. Like,
Yeah,
no, you can't go check this thing out.
it does. That's a bit flimsy plot wise.
That's really dumb. It should have been something more like there's something happening over here. We need you over here. We can't put resources over there. That's better than you can't just do it. 'Cause it's like, does she need permission? She's a general. I mean, like,
Right. Typically,
can she go
yes.
check something?
And if
like,
she was
I
a
feel
smart general, she would ask for forgiveness, not permission. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
it felt a little plotty.
it's a little manufactured. I agree. But again, I think like the ideas that are at the heart of the show, and I don't know if it's just it. I think it is just like it just feels like Dave Filoni's at the wheel, someone who has a big imagination and is wanting to explore that in the Star Wars universe. And in so many of the other shows, I felt like someone has had like a very kind of narrow idea of what it needs to be and is not wanting to stray outside of that because they don't want to fuck it up again. Right. Like that has been like the tone I have felt from like Obi-Wan and to some extent Mando. I feel like, yes, season 1 and 2 of Mando are very good, but they're also just very safe. And they, outside of bringing Luke in at the end, I think that's fun.
It's not hard to, make it. You put a guy in Mandalorian armor, and we're already 80% there.
Exactly, and so like there's goodness there, but again, it feels fairly safe. This doesn't feel safe. This feels like we're expanding the universe and bringing things from the cartoons into the live action that are different and outside of what traditional Star Wars fans might be okay with. You know what I mean? And I think. But that's what you have to do to grow an IP. You got to keep innovating. You got to keep giving it to people that have like blue sky mentality of like, there's so many amazing stories we could tell in this universe and so many cool elements we could bring in. That's who I feel like is at the helm of this. And to me, it's night and day, my interest and my commitment to the show versus all the others. Like,
I will agree with that, and again, there's something. I would love to know the actual percentage of like Filoni's involvement with Favreau in the first 3 seasons of Mando.
Sure.
It feels like I don't know. I'm not sure what happened with season
episodes,
3.
but I feel like at least Favreau's been showrunner for all of them. So it's been his vision.
It feels like it's been Favreau and again, Filoni has been like trying to earn his wings in the live action space. Again, I don't know because it feels like I'm proving myself wrong when I say that. I wish it was a combination of the two, but it's like they worked together on Mando. But why did Mando season 3 fall so flat for me in a lot of ways?
I think personally is because the Mando idea it was based on a pretty simple idea, and then they like ran their course through that idea in 2 seasons, and they're like, oh, what do we do now? That's my personal opinion, just because like they were like Baby Yoda and Mando trekking across the universe, and then they tied up the main plot of the whole show in 2 seasons, and then untied it.
If that decision was a Bob Chapek decision of
feels like an executive
season 2, Baby Yoda's not in it. No, he's the most profitable thing ever for Star Wars. So you gotta reunite him in the side spin-off show of Boba Fett. And I would look because there's always rumors that Favreau and them disagree with things, and like they're making concessions and whatever, and I kind of wonder if maybe it's more of a hope. I'm hoping the executive did this because I don't want to believe that the creatives were that. It
does not feel like a creative decision, right? It does not. Who would say, "Hey, we got this awesome Boba Fett story, but let at the end, let's just make it not about Boba Fett." I mean, was Favreau the Boba Fett showrunner as well?
Yeah, I think
that makes sense. I mean, but it doesn't feel like.
I don't know that
this was the best idea we could come up for. How even if you want to reunite them, you probably need to take a season to do it well.
No shit. We've
And-
yeah,
and
we've talked
you
about
can
that
earn it.
ad nauseum.
Yeah, we have.
Listeners, you can go find all of our Mando season 1 through 3 podcasts.
See, this is what happens. We start talking about Star Wars, and it unravels.
I want to talk about something that I think we can talk a lot about for the next 18 minutes here, and it's the identity of Marrok.
Okay,
Have you heard about this?
I don't think so.
Well, let me just blow your little panties off, Daniel, because I don't know if you know this, but in the voice, like in the cast, in like the credits at the end of the episodes, additional voices. One of them was Sam Witwer, and you know who Sam Witwer is?
Yeah, the Force Unleashed.
Yeah, and he also voiced Darth Maul in Rebels.
Okay.
And
wait.
is
he the Force Unleashed guy?
He is the is the Force. More importantly, he's the Force
Star
Unleashed
Killer.
guy.
He's Star Killer. Yeah.
He's Star Killer. And so there's two running theories going on right now. One, look at I think from what I'm thinking, Marrok is from, I think Marrok and Balin and all these names that these Sith have right now, they're based off like an old English knight. Maybe it's Irish. I don't know. People can look that up. Like Irish naming kind of convention where they talk about like wolves and like tribes and that kind of thing. And I think Marrok is a knight that has been poisoned or controlled by a witch, which we have a witch, and turned into a wolf, so to speak. Now, a couple things here. One, Ezra is Bridger, who they're looking for, Ahsoka Tano and all these people. You know, Ezra, who supposedly was with Thrawn.
Yeah,
he has a lot of connections with wolves in Rebels. If you've seen Rebels,
I remember that. Yeah.
So some people think that Marrok is Ezra underneath, but he's been corrupted by the Sith. Like he might be mind controlled. I would say I theorize it's more mind controlled than corrupted. Like he's the witch is actually
brainwashed or something.
Has him under a spell or something.
Yeah,
that's one. Like they're looking for Ezra, and Ezra's there the whole time.
Seems quite
fighting them.
Likely. It could be
likely.
Yeah.
The other one is look up the Force Unleashed. Look up his name. What's his name?
Star Killer. Oh, but
what's his real name?
Yeah, let me see. Just gotta look it up.
Everyone, we didn't die. We were just looking at this character's name.
I'm having to Google what is Star Killer's real name. Galen Marrok.
Marrok. So you have Marrok, and then there's Marrok, right? A couple things here. One, Filoni has talked to Sam Witwer, and Sam Witwer said this recently. He said that Filoni has wanted to bring Star Killer into canon. And if you think about what Star Killer is, he was an Inquisitor. He was Darth Vader's apprentice. He's an Inquisitor. And who better to fight Anakin Skywalker's apprentice than Darth Vader's apprentice?
Yeah. That is a good.
And a couple of things. Everyone's like, "Oh, his power level's too big." Blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, you're correct. He like pulls down a star, like a star destroyer. Yeah. But also for one, it's a game. I'm not sure we're supposed to believe that's canon. But here's the big thing that George has always said that I maintain is that the movies are the canon.
Right.
Everything else is like a retold story from somebody else.
Right.
There can be facts and there can be some things that are altered. It's like passing down a game of like what did the first person say? Like that goes from the books, everything.
They're legends.
Part of that, they're legends. George always kind of said like, and part of that reason was like he's like, well, my stories are the main thing, and then I allowed all these writers to write stuff, and sometimes I'm going to contradict them because I want to do something different because it's my thing. So that was like his easy answer around it. But also, I think it's a great answer. It's like, well, this is, it makes the average viewer, they can just watch the movies, and that should tell them what they need to know. Yeah, and there shouldn't be things that there's some kind of comic book. Oh well, Luke's lightsaber actually fell down here, and it shouldn't be in this place at this point. Like it's like okay. Some rando comic book guy from Marvel did that, and more power to him. Glad they're going to tell a story, but it's like, can we, I don't know. That's a whole can of worms, right? So it's also very possible we're getting Star Killer brought into Ahsoka, and that leads into a lot of possibilities. I can imagine a Star Killer TV show where we have Darth Vader. We just get a Force Unleashed TV show. I mean, I would watch that with Sam Witwer and Darth Vader. Who wouldn't? A Darth Vader's Secret Apprentice.
Yeah. No, I mean it's very interesting. I
We could
I'm
be
of
writing a
two
better
minds,
show.
right? Like I think it part of me wants it to be Ezra because it just wants to kind of me this show to focus on kind of one
Sure.
group of kind of the Rebels cast. That's what this one's about. But like at the same time, if they do it in a good way, that's awesome. I think those are really interesting theories. I knew there were theories about them. I hadn't looked into them myself.
Sure.
I think I don't know what show I would prefer.
Thematically, Ezra is
Thematically, Ezra makes more sense. It's just
makes
the
more
obvious
sense.
candidate.
Some people are like, that's stupid because why would he would never turn to the dark side? And I'm like, okay, I get it.
They can
But
control people. Yeah, I think
they
that's
control
easy
people.
enough. Yeah,
I think
especially
so
the
too.
witches of she's one of the
Yeah,
the
and that's
witches
like
of
that,
that
and
place.
that's where the name comes from. A knight that turned into a wolf because of a witch.
Right. Yeah, that would be a very obvious one and would work well. Like that's cool. I think that's
I
a
think
cool
so
thing.
too.
Um,
Yeah, and he's damaged, and you got to bring him back to the light, and then he's got
Yeah.
to team up, and he's got this sweet Sith armor, but he's a good guy underneath.
yeah, I like
I mean,
that
he
idea.
looks sweet. Like I'm like, if
He
he ends up
does.
being Ezra, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's fucking. I think either one, I'm super happy with. But I mean,
I am too. I think it is one of those things of like I don't want them to like bring in Star Killer and then not do him justice or like
sure.
we get distracted from what the show's actually about by introducing a video game character. Now, if it works, like if it's well written, it works. You know what I mean? Like anything can be if it's written well. A lot of things work. Almost not everything, but a lot of things work. And so
Most.
either way, I think it's cool that we have this character that we're speculating about and could be one of two cool options. Essentially, it feels like
And
likely it could be one of these, and both of them would be awesome.
option 3 is that there's nobody underneath that's important, and Ahsoka kills him next episode.
Man, that would be disappointing.
And he's just a guy. I mean, he's a sweet looking guy, but it's just like
Turns out he's another Snoke clone.
another Snoke clone. There was another theory it's Anakin Skywalker clone, which is I'm cool
I
with
don't
that.
want them to do that.
I'm fine with
I don't
it
want
because
clones of younger characters. I mean, I think I don't know. That feels
I'm
a
not
little
super
bit.
against it because Luke Skywalker was cloned in the Heir to the Empire trilogy.
It was.
And so like there's precedent for it, and then,
There
and
is.
I think Filoni would do Anakin over Luke because we're getting Luke still in other ways,
Right.
And Hayden Christensen's young enough where he could be cloned.
It's true.
Anyway, I don't know. It just feels like there's some mystery there because he's a really badass character that came out of nowhere and he's masked.
Yep.
And
We love those in Star Wars.
we do love them. And again, it could be nobody. And Sam Witwer may not be voicing this character, but Sam Witwer hasn't said anything lately about him work.
Yeah.
He did say he only thing he did say he said that he's seen Rebel or he's seen Ahsoka. He said it's great, and he goes, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm in it, but I'm not in it. So I don't know what that means.
I'm in it, but I'm not in it.
Because of the writer strikes are happening. I think he was saying I can't talk about it, but I'm in it, but I can't talk about it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't know.
Versus being a voice actor for something.
I don't know.
Who's the voice
No
of the
one
droid?
I don't know. I don't know a lot of things, but
Okay.
I just think it's fascinating. And I think that's an interesting link. Again, thematically, it should be Ezra, just because it would, I can imagine, especially next week is the midpoint of the season.
Right.
If they're on this planet and Balin and these other two are after Ahsoka and Sabine, and there's going to be some lightsaber fights,
Mm-hmm.
I can see them unmasking Marrok next week and kind of starting that second half conflict of, okay, we found Ezra, but now Thrawn's on his way.
Yeah.
And we got to turn Ezra back and also get,
Ready
prepared for Thrawn.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a solid idea, solid story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, and again, I think my big takeaway in all of this is I'm excited to see what happens next.
Sure.
And I have not been that way probably since like season 2 of Mando. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to see the next episode.
Yeah.
And that is great.
Last thing I want to talk about before we get on here, Daniel, is this idea. I kind of always twitch sometimes when people are like just start becoming force sensitive.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Sometimes I twitch, depending on how they do it.
Sure.
But I do want to point to something that's been there from the beginning, and something George always said, and
Mhm.
it's been said a lot, is that the Force is in everything.
Yeah.
It surrounds us, it binds us together,
Right.
and I think George always kind of attributed it to like martial arts, like everyone is force sensitive, but some people like Anakin Skywalker are immensely talented, and sometimes
Yeah.
they have
Naturally gifted. Yeah.
a higher midichlorian count, right?
Right.
And all these other things. And there's some people like Sabine who is not gifted at all, but if she works really, really hard at it,
Right.
she could be proficient in it.
Right.
And so that to me checks out, and it also kind of goes to me in line more with A New Hope, because when Obi-Wan trains Luke, it's not like it isn't really, at the time it wasn't really like, everyone like you're special and so you have the
No.
Force. It was kind
Right.
of like, I'm gonna start training you to be a Jedi
Yeah.
and feel the Force, Luke. It was just kind of like, okay,
Right.
I'll try it, and then he did it. So that to me lines up with the universe. And so
Mhm.
I've kind of recanted some of my thinking in terms of Sabine being
Sure.
a force wielder, those kind of things.
They're gonna make her
And
earn it. It seems like.
it
And
feels like they're gonna make her earn it, which I'm
Yeah.
okay with,
Yeah.
And I think that's great. So I'm on board for that. Yeah,
Agreed.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was sad that it was only 30 minutes long, but I'm excited for next week.
Yeah.
I'm excited for us to keep talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, and
So,
it's David Tennant is
it is David
Hu
Tennant.
Yang.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he again, I just want to shout out the humor in this, while also being a serious episode. I think was what I liked. Is like there's humor, but no one's like aha. It's not like played for laughs in the
Sure.
show. It's always a serious moment, but they add humor. I also love the moment where, first of all, the sequence where Ahsoka fights on outside.
I was going to say, we didn't even talk about
awesome.
that. That's like,
I loved
that's really cool.
It's really cool, and it's like they literally have an episode in the Clone Wars where they do almost the exact same thing. Like
That's Clone Wars. I mean, that's Clone.
Yes.
Yeah, what is that? I was like, this is Clone Wars.
And,
yeah.
and I loved when she did that jump and slice the thing. But like when like Sabine's like, where's Ahsoka? And then she's like, right here, and she's like floating in front of her. I was tickled at that. It just had it when it got into like the groove. It had a really nice pacing when it was like action with a little humor, with a little drama. And then when Hu Yang woke up later was funny as well. But yeah, I'm enjoying, like, to me, it's like I'm just enjoying hanging out with these characters, and continuing to enjoy it more as the show progresses, at least this far. And I think that's a very good sign.
I'm going to look. I think the last episode is directed. It is by my boy and your boy too, Rick Fumiyama.
Oh.
And he has directed the best episodes of The Mandalorian, more than likely.
Yeah.
And he directed the last two, I think, of season 3, which were banger. He's like the best action.
Yeah.
He directed the stellar episode 1 with Bill Burr of season 1, not episode 1, but that Bill Burr episode of season 1, the hallway, like
That's
heist
exciting.
and stuff. And so like they're bringing him back for the season finale, and it's like,
Love
okay.
it.
That directing plus Filoni's writing, that feels like
Yes.
the perfect marriage of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's exciting. No, I'm very much looking forward. And it feels like they're building to something awesome by the end of this. We know it's going to set up more things, more shows and movies.
Sure.
But it does feel like they've got a full deck, and it feels like they've got an ace in the hole, and like it feels like, again, it's confident storytelling. They're not having to rush us to like the big buzzword moments. They're taking their time, like aligning the pieces while also just crafting good narrative with the plot and with characters, growing and their dynamics changing and stuff like that. So it does feel like they've got something good for us waiting, and that's really
I hope so. I'm hoping by the end of next week I can say Star Wars is back, baby. That's what I'm hoping for. And if not the end of next week, and maybe 5 more weeks, but
right.
that'd
be nice.
yeah, I think I'm still teetering. Like this
Sure.
is
Well,
they're doing.
we've had our trust broken multiple times by Disney. I
Yeah,
mean, this is an abusive relationship at this point, and we're just Stockholm syndroming ourselves into another situation. But
and we'll never break up with her, Daniel.
no,
We're
no,
gonna
we won't.
keep
We
going
won't. We
back.
can't. Yeah. It completes us. But yeah. So I think we
They
have.
didn't mean to hurt us. You know, they didn't mean to do it.
It just got a little drunk and a little angry. It almost never happens.
Yeah, I said the wrong thing actually.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just I fell down some stairs. Anyway, yeah, I think we have good reason to doubt. We have good reason to not let our hopes get too up because there's a history here. But it is showing more signs than anything else. Maybe The Force Awakens, like well, at least the first like 60% of that movie had these kind of a similar magic. It's just the first time where it's just like, oh, this is awesome. This is fun. This is good. This is cool. This is nerdy Star Wars. It's like the like getting into the nitty gritty of lore and world building and stuff. And I'm like, yes, this is what I want. And so, yeah, I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to see where the show's, and I know that even the next few episodes have longer run times. I think like in the 40s and 50s. I think so. That's good. Exciting too. Yeah.
Daniel, how can listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/241mail and let us know what you thought of episode 3 of Ahsoka, or maybe all the episodes so far. Are you in our camp? Are you, seeing a little, some areas that might need a little more polish, but at the same time, you really like the vibe, you really like the tempo, you like the tone, you like the characters, or do you see more problems, or do you just think it's absolutely perfect? Now, only one of those opinions is correct, but write into bit.ly/241mail and let us know, and we will tell you if you're wrong.
And if you can't write us in our Bitly, you can always find us in the comment section below. Again, youtube.com/241studios. Please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And if you're on podcast services, write a review, leave us a like, let us know how we're doing, and we'll keep making more regardless, honestly, regardless of what you do. So anyway, it's fun talking Star Wars. I think we have Bruce on relatively soon, but we'll keep going with Ahsoka until more things come out or stop coming out, because it seems like it's never-ending strikes happening.
It could happen, yes.
My name is Donovan Thompson.
I am Daniel Wingfield.
And we have spoken.